Black Clover was at the top of the anime world. Between 2020 and 2022, almost everyone was invested in Asta's story. The boy without magic had just achieved his victory over Dante in the anime, and was gaining his newly found devil union in the manga. So why is it that today, 3 years later, anything Black Clover related seems to go completely under the radar? The answer, for anyone who's kept up with the series, should seem fairly obvious. But what if I told you the downfall had been brewing for years before the eventual climax? Well, there is only one question we can ask. Was Black Clover's potential thrown away? Before we start, let's establish a quick timeline of important events. Black Clover has its first chapter published in Weekly Shonen Jump on February 16th in 2015 by author and artist Yuki Tabata. It then continues publishing chapters in Weekly Shonen Jump to decent levels of success. Then, on October 3rd in the year 2017, the first episode of the anime, animated by Studio Pierrot, premiered for the world to watch. This led to Black Clover's popularity skyrocketing, resulting in higher volume sales per week and higher peaks of interest surrounding Tabata's work. This influx of sales continued on for several volume releases up until a very important point. Eventually, most likely wanting to fully capitalize on the success of the series, the anime adaptation catches up to the manga, leaving Studio Pierrot with no other choice but to halt production on the series until more chapters had been released. With the anime now halted temporarily, manga sales start to decline week by week, finally leading to Black Clover being moved over to Jump Giga in the year 2023, when author Yuki Tabata expressed that the weekly schedule was interfering with some personal issues he had going on in his life. Since the move to Jump Giga, the manga has now seen quarterly releases of longer manga chapters as opposed to its previous weekly release schedule in Weekly Shonen Jump. This all leads to today, July 2025. The month where the highly anticipated return of the Black Clover anime was just announced. This, of course, circles back to our original question, which I highlighted at the start of the video. Why is it that the anime being announced to return doesn't feel as big as it should feel? After listening to the timeline of events, the answer seems obvious. Black Clover being moved to Jump Giga reduced the number of eyeballs on it significantly. In a time of attention spans and audience/fan retention being at an all-time low, Black Clover not being pushed weekly anymore led to more people forgetting it was even still being published. Well, I don't believe that this is the correct answer. While it does play a role for sure, it's not the primary reason Black Clover has seen its unfortunate decline. With the weekly series, there is a clear expectation. That series will release every week on a given day, meaning that every week there will be new developments in the story with new things for fans to talk and theorize over. It keeps things fresh and new within the community, which is built around that weekly story. Think of it like this. What is the biggest complaint you always hear about One Piece? It's way too long and the pacing is horrible. However, what if I told you that that was One Piece's biggest strength? The manga is constantly evolving week by week, without letting things spiral out of control at a rapid rate. Oda can keep fans hooked and talking every week. But the most important part of One Piece's success? The anime's pacing. When there's a large series like Black Clover, it will have two types of fans. The dedicated hardcore fans, who read every manga chapter as it comes out, and watches every episode of the anime when it is being released weekly. The other type of fan is the casual fan, someone who's a fan of the Black Clover anime and watches when they notice more episodes have come out. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being either. However, one does unfortunately matter more to the overall success of a series. And this reason is exactly why One Piece is such a juggernaut. The pacing of the series has never allowed it to be within arm's length of the manga's current events. This has allowed the anime to run weekly for nearly 25 plus years, only taking small breaks for outside reasons. For a casual audience, there was never a time when One Piece wasn't being shown somewhere. So, what does this have to do with Black Clover? Well, we know that Black Clover's popularity skyrocketed when the anime first started being made. That fact is backed up by the influx of manga sales. And we also know that Black Clover's influence declined drastically after the anime had been put on hiatus. So, the reason for Black Clover's ultimate decline? Was it the move to Jump Giga? Was it simply because fans grew tired of how the series was playing out? No. While the move to Jump Giga was a very drastic change that did affect the series, and while some people may just have disagreed with the story's progression, ultimately it comes down to just one thing: the loss and abandonment of the casual viewer. remember how I mentioned One Piece's success is all up to the anime's pacing? Well, the opposite can be said for Black Clover. Seeing the utter success of the anime, Pierrot jumped the gun, running through 170 episodes of the show at a rapid pace. And yes, while this was happening, Black Clover was indeed seeing high levels of success, but it was a short-term gain for a long-term loss. Eventually, the Black Clover anime catches up to the manga, and the anime must be halted, abandoning the casual audience and leaving the manga with only the hardcore fans to carry most of the weight of discussion and press. So finally, to answer the question that this entire video was made for, was Black Clover's potential squandered? Yes, I believe it was. When compared to one of its competitors during the time, My Hero Academia, the difference is unparalleled. My Hero Academia released its anime through a seasonal format, meaning that there would be month breaks in between seasons to allow Studio Bones to produce the best product that they possibly could. So you might be asking yourself right now, but Vanny, weren't you just saying a weekly series is the best way to keep people staying for longer periods of time? Yeah, I did say that. However, the My Hero anime was never released on a weekly schedule to begin with. It began as a seasonal anime. This means an expectation was set from the very beginning of the series. The anime will release seasonally to ensure quality and time for the manga to produce the story for Bones to then adapt. With a series like One Piece, the pacing is constructed in a way to ensure it can constantly run alongside the manga, so it never has to halt for extended periods of time and lose long-term interest. To truly put this into perspective, My Hero Academia's longest break was 13 months between seasons 2 and 3. At that point, the series had already garnered massive success from the previous 2 seasons. Due to season 1's massive success, the studio delivered its shortest ever break window of 7 months, most likely because they wanted to capitalize on the series' success. Understanding that the series was a massive hit, Bones took longer breaks in between seasons, from seasons 2 to 6, to ensure guaranteed quality was delivered. In comparison, Black Clover's longest break between seasons is between the only 2, seasons 1 and 2, that being 4 years and counting. So, yes, I do believe Black Clover's potential was completely thrown away. And as a very big fan of the series, it's extremely disappointing. Now, do I think that when the anime returns, people are going to be watching and talking about it? Of course I do. It's still one of the most popular manga of the 2010s. Sadly, I just don't think it'll get the amount of love and press it could have gotten if the anime wasn't put on hold for nearly 5 years. This is, of course, because of the little care for proper pacing by Studio Pierrot. We know now from Bleach's Thousand Year Blood War that Pierrot can do seasonal releases very well, and that when they take their time, can deliver a product just as good as the rest of the big dime studios. However, it might be a little unfair to compare Bleach and Black Clover in terms of popularity. Bleach is amongst the most popular anime manga of all time, so there must be an idea that people will watch no matter how much time is in between releases. With Black Clover, the series was new, and the studio most likely didn't know how long its popularity would last, ultimately pushing it out too fast, and then suffering for years later. But at the end of the day, who really knows? I mean, this video could absolutely blow up in my face, and the Black Clover anime could return to massive levels of success it had never even seen before. No one can actually know until it finally releases. So, what do you guys think? Was Black Clover's potential really thrown away? Do you agree with my thoughts, or do you have any other ideas that you believe are correct? I would love to know, so make sure to leave any comments you have down below, and I will happily respond. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.